He was quite possibly the most singular player in the history of basketball.
Put myself on that.
To me, Reggie Miller was one of the clutch shot makers ever in this league. And when
Melo just brings experience, confidence.
He goes out there and he finishes plays. He shoots when he's open. If he's not, he passes.
Karl Malone was this close to a championship that Michael Jordan took it away from him.
But when it comes to not only success on the court, Hall of Famer Dikembe Mutombo is the king of Africa.
Winning an NBA title is the dream of every kid who grows up playing basketball. When you reach the NBA, that's only half the battle, as we have seen some of the very best players in league history miss out on a ring. Let's take a look at the greatest NBA players to have never won a ring at each position. There are plenty of good options at point guard. Former MVP Russell Westbrook looks likely to end his NBA career without a ring, despite going to the finals in 2012. Allen Iverson's slick handles couldn't win him a ring despite taking a 1-0 lead over the Lakers in the 2001 finals. NCAA all-time leading scorer Pistol Pete Maravich never even made it to the finals despite breaking countless NBA records. The ultimate floor general Chris Paul struggled in the playoffs for a very long time in his career before giving up a 2-zip series lead in the 2022 NBA Finals with the Suns. Two-time MVP Steve Nash helped to revolutionize the league, but his Phoenix Suns never made it past the Western Conference Finals, despite reaching that mark 3 times. But no point guard was quite as good as John Stockton without winning a ring. The former Jazz point guard is one of the very best to do it in his position. He was the ultimate facilitator, with 9 seasons in a row as the league's top assister. It led to Stockton retiring as the all-time leader in assists in the NBA. With the Jazz, Stockton formed a dynamic duo with Karl Malone. The two broke countless records together and were one of the best teams of the 1990s. They made it to 2 finals together in the 1990s. But there are plenty of players in NBA history without a ring for the same reason as Stockton. That reason is Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. Despite the Jazz having a formidable squad, they were never even able to take the Bulls to 7 games. So Stockton would lose both of his finals appearances and retire without a ring. While there were plenty of NBA point guards who retired without a ring, the list isn't quite as spectacular for the shooting guards. In the modern game, former MVP James Harden is coming towards the end of his career and will likely retire without a ring despite being one of the best scorers in the last decade. Reggie Miller was a similarly exceptional scorer whose three-point efficiency was incredible. Despite that, he could never lead his Indiana Pacers to the title. But when you talk about talent and then look at the players who deserve to win a ring, Tracy McGrady has to be top of that list for this position. T-Mac entered the NBA straight out of high school as the 9th overall pick in 1997. He developed into an interesting young prospect with the Toronto Raptors before being traded to the Magic. In Orlando, McGrady became the league's leading scorer and was voted to the All-NBA First Team 2 years in a row. He continued his All-Star streak after the move to the Rockets. When Grady decided to retire in 2013, he went down as one of the best scorers in the 2000s and a dominant athlete. A perennial MVP candidate, it's pretty shocking that McGrady not only doesn't have a title, but is also missing an MVP award from his record. The closest he came was actually in 2013, in the final season of McGrady's career, having signed for the San Antonio Spurs just before the playoffs. It was in this campaign that McGrady played outside of the first round of the playoffs for the very first time. He helped the Spurs reach the NBA Finals, where they would go on to lose in 7 games to the LeBron-led Miami Heat. One of the best players in league history who couldn't find a contending team to help him win a ring. In the modern era, there are plenty of guys who have incredible personal resumes, but are still without a ring. The smooth scoring of Carmelo Anthony has not been able to land him a championship title. Similarly, Paul George has been one of the most versatile wing players in the league over the last decade, and yet he is also without a title. But there is no small forward in NBA history who has the career that Dominique Wilkins has without winning a championship. Selected 3rd overall in the 1982 draft, Wilkins was traded to the Atlanta Hawks not long after being selected by the Jazz. With Atlanta, he blossomed into not only one of the league's best players, but one of the most exciting that we have ever seen. Wilkins' nickname of the human highlight film was earned by Wilkins being one of the most acrobatic and exciting dunkers the league has ever seen. He won the slam dunk contest twice in his career, beating Michael Jordan in one of the finals. As well as being a great dunker, Wilkins was a perennial all-star and one of the league's best scorers. He led the NBA in scoring in 1986 and would go to the All-Star game 9 times. The issue was that Wilkins was very loyal to Atlanta, despite the Hawks never really giving him a good supporting cast. Wilkins never even made it past the second round of the playoffs for his entire career. He did win a championship in Europe with Panathinaikos, but he is still the best small forward to ever play in the NBA and miss out on a championship ring. There are 2 exceptional options when it comes to the greatest power forward of all time without a ring. Karl Malone was a pretty much unstoppable force in the 1990s. You just couldn't defend against him in the paint. The 2-time league MVP was defeated by Michael Jordan and the Bulls in both of his appearances in the finals. Malone has a pretty exceptional record, but I believe that the best player in the power forward position to never have won a ring was none other than Charles Barkley. You may know Chuck as one of the hosts of the NBA on TNT. He's a lovable media personality who is never afraid of saying what's on his mind. What people forget is that back in the day, Barkley was one of the best athletes that the league has ever seen. At barely over 6'6", it was never going to be easy for Barkley to become a dominant rebounder in the NBA. He was going to be facing guys much taller than him for his entire career. Despite that, Barkley has an exceptional resume in the league. He retired as an 11-time All-Star and was voted to the All-NBA First Team 5 times. Chuck won the MVP award in 1993, the same season that he took the Phoenix Suns to the NBA Finals. Much like other players on this list, he was denied a title by his close friend Michael Jordan. Barkley failed to make it back to the finals after 1993, and thanks in part to Shaq, reminding viewers often. He is remembered as arguably the best power forward to have never won an NBA title. While the center position has also produced countless champions, there have also been a few NBA legends who have never won a ring. Dikembe Mutombo is one of the best defenders in league history, having won Defensive Player of the Year 4 times. Despite that, he was never able to capture a ring, coming closest as part of the Sixers team that made it to the finals in 2001. While there are plenty of other great options, it's hard to look past Patrick Ewing as the best center in the history of the league without a ring. The Georgetown center was selected first overall in 1985. He became an All-Star in just his rookie season and never looked back. Ewing would become a stalwart for the perennial playoff New York Knicks. The 11-time All-Star came closest to a title in 1994, when he benefited massively from Michael Jordan's decision to play baseball. Ewing took the Knicks to the NBA Finals, where he matched up against another legendary center in Hakeem Olajuwon. Sadly for Ewing and the Knicks, the Rockets and Hakeem won that championship. Ewing was a champion outside of the NBA, having won the NCAA championship just before he was drafted and becoming a 2-time Olympic gold medalist. But he was never able to add that elusive NBA title, so he added his name to this list. Who do you think is the greatest NBA player to have never won a title? Put your thoughts in the comments down below. And while you're down there, hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.